Alright, the history of Willows. A town in the middle. In 1923, the Foshee family moved the Foshee Lumber Company to southern Alabama to 54,000 acres of leased timberland located on Manatee Hillsborough County line. As part of the lease, they were required to erect a mill at a certain size capacity with a percentage of the mill's output went to the property owner. The owner has reserved the turpentine rights itself. Mill opened in early 1924. 78 to 85 houses sprang up in the mill town of the Willow. At some point during the startup of the mill, Goen family joined with the Foshee, the former Goen Foshee Lumber Company. They operated the mill until the Foshee sold the interest to J.I. Robbins in 1926. Robbins' family, J.F. McGowan, retained the name and ran the mill and purchased 40,000 acres of timberland. Some of it former leased land. The site contained the Shaw Mill, Planter Mill, dry kennel, long storage yard. The company owned many of the Miles Railroad, as well as the locomotive log loaders, log cars. The town had a commissionary separate living quarters with the black and the white employees, depending on independent, including a church and a black school. Robbins' family ran the mill for a decade and proceeded about around 50,000 boards feet of lumber a day, the mostly longleaf yellow pine, Genomia, and prime. These trees were 85% heartwood, hard, durable, with a cane. They were more pitched for the Alabama timberland, and had previously been milled with no cypress trees and had been timberland. The mill produced a small division of lumber such as 2x4, 2x6 board with the planks and siding floor and roofing. Finished lumber was shipped with the train with the banana dock for the set in Iceland with the Tampa with the export with the destination such as Italy, Southern France, Belgium, Africa, Germany, Netherlands, and the Desner Exporting Company. During the Great Depression, the price of lumber fell below the cost of producing it, and the mill was closed in 1929 until the prices recovered in 1931. Unfortunately, the balance of the timber was damaged by wind shake. Red Heart disease. The company was dissolved in September 1936. Mill equipment was moved the other all over the next few months with the new company, the Robbins Manufacturing Company, with the new northern Millsboro County. During Mill's operation, the log train consisted of 18 to 20 cars, each holding about 4,000 board feet with the down lumber. Back to the mill site each day with the logging operation from the Clyde loader loaded it from the rear forward. The only brakes on the train were those on the engine. Car was most in home-built vehicles, about 28 feet in length. Loader straddled the track of the train and loaded it at a high spot with the track rained down with the incline on either side of the loader site. Loader was steam-powered loggers for the dead wood with the line with the tracks on the fire. Its boiler loading operation usually completed by 1:30 to 2 o'clock p.m. and the train was sent on to the mill while typically arrived with the sunset was unloading immediately. Spur tracks were laid by a track crew that laid and picked up the mile track per day with the use of the machine pulled the engine number 6 Baldwin built straight stack steam locomotive imported from the coal country up north of the main line with a good quality, but with the spur tracks were rather crude, consistently rough tied with the light 40-pound rail, and was very lucky day with the long train did not derail and spur. Uh, Re-railing was accomplished throwing down the cross-sides lane with the train drag itself back to the rail. Locomotive with the number 102 with the cabbage stacked engine brought with the timber through with the Mackay to the mill. Engine was later scraped and the boiler sold to local residents while who used the power his small mill near US 301. The final engine limit built with the number 4 was 5 to 6 tons, lighter with the number 6, but powerful enough to pull the entire log train while putting a much easier burden on the rudimentary spur tracks. The logging crew worked 5 days of the week and were off duty Saturday and most of the Sunday with the Sunday afternoons load with the 6 came car with the mills with the supplies. Coming week with a long train supply with the equipment for the Monday morning run. The camp cars consist of the cook car, dining car, sleeping cars, blacksmith car. Provide some idea of the size of the operation. James Robin operated a turpentine still with at the south end of the timberland on the south side of the highway route 70. It consisted of about 10 sections of the timber. Pitch was collected within cups and transferred with the barrels, hauled with the mill, and distilled. The turpentine was loaded in the 10 cars and sent to the market. The lumber's operation rail system joined with the seaboard main line north of the mill with across the seaboard Atlantic main line crossing the present-day spur line floor power and light plant is located. The old right way is still visible property owned by the museum. It was a self-contained community with employed with 200 to 300 people. The community furnished housing, electrical, water system, medical care with a missionary store. A seaboard Atlantic had a station, water tank, willows, Post office was located just north of the station L of the east side of the right-of-way of the town's main road ran north of Willow Road. On the roads of the commissary mill office, the family housing, lastly, border housing of the single men road continued north, where there were 2 rows housing of black workers and their dependents in black school and black church. White children were bused to school in Wamoma. Further north, there was the Duke joint on the banks of the Little Manatee River, close to the shallows, were known as the Willow Crossing. Portable water was provided as far as the main street. Each house has tie into the line with a spur with a spigot in front. Each house was furnished with a septic tank. Electricity was provided by a 50 horsepower DC generator at the mill. Medical attention was provided by a physician who lived along Willow Road. Lumber company employees were paid daily, with the time checks would be exchanged with the commissioner's company script of goods. Change was given in Babbitt brass coins, 5, 10, 15, 25 cent denominations. Wages were 8 to 10 cents an hour. Certain skilled positions such as saw filer, planner, mill operator, boiler, fireman, training crew, especially with the mill's head saw, were paid well. Social activity of the town revolved around the commissioner porch during the Prohibition. Bootleg allowed to operate with the town. Interestingly, he accepted the company script of the payment of the company tolerated prostitutes at the single men's boarding house as well with the juke joint. Although it did not sanction the practice, it realized that there was a necessary point with a fairly isolated rural life. Automobiles were scarce, and the community was very tightly knit, albeit in segregated was the entire nation at the time. Occasionally, revival was passed through the town, and social barriers were somewhat relaxed as a result, and later, with the whole time was turned out with the watch. One Seaboard Atlantic's primary passenger train, the Silver Metro Flash, by on the main line. It was first train Willow residents had powered by diesel electric locomotives. The mill whistle blew at 5 a.m. The electrical generator was started. The second whistle at 6 a.m. signaled the start of the workday. The generator shut down at 9 p.m. each evening. The company basically dictated the townspeople rose and retired each day. Today, Mill's whistle is the position of Robbins family. One of the 3 Corsolan-type steam engines powered the mill's machinery is located at Tampa State Fairgrounds. One of them mounted at Robbins Manufacturing Company store to the north of Nebraska Avenue, Tampa, and the others reportedly moved to the site in Alabama. All right, museum equipment locomotive. The Florida Gulf Coast 100 ex-U.S. Navy General Electric 44-ton center cab switch engine, 2 4-cylinder Caterpillar engine, 300 horsepower. General Electric Corporation 44-tonner is also covered the industry with a design to road with a 90,000-pound rule in 1937. The national agreement with the railroad carrier with the rule protecting the firemen jobs on diesel locomotives above that of the 90,000-pound weight. GE responded by designing a switcher that was just under a 45-ton limit, thus legally permitting one-man operation. The 44-ton went with many variations along production with the 1940-1956, but was most numerous units built in where 171 phase 4 of type of the Frrm 1 number 100 most likely falls into the group. Originally, most of the phase 4 locomotives were powered by two 8-cylinder Caterpillar engines, one under each hood. In 1989, the U.S. Navy contracted with the manning service of the company to rebuild the locomotive that might have been the time when its original diesel engine GE control stand faired. Its exhaust stack structures outline still visible near the center line of the cab roof were replaced. Navy placed the locomotive in storage at one of its yards. Not long afterward, and the unit reported had only about 500 hours of service on it when it was donated to the Florida Railroad Museum. All right, your Florida Gulf Coast Railroad 822 and 1835. Ex-U.S. Transportation Corps EM Electric Motor Division GP7 the road switch with a non-turbocharged Model 567 B 16-cylinder engine, 1,500 horsepower. General Motor Company Electric Motor Division GP7 was extremely popular all over the purpose of the first generation diesel electric motive. It was available to both the freight and passenger service version. The 2600 were built in the 1949-1954. However, only 26 of them, including the 1835 and 1822, were built with the Association of American Railroads. The Type A switch trucks, instead of the most common EMD Bloomberg road trucks, making extremely rare variation. Remarkable historical significance that the Florida Railroad Museum owns 2 examples of this type. Locomotives were built in 1951 and spent live with the switching services of the Army Military Ocean Terminal Sunny Point in Sunny Point, North Carolina, before being donated in the museum in 1993. Presently, the 1822 and the 8 is stored out of service and is used as source part for the 1835. The Florida Railroad Museum prominently road locomotive. The 1835 was painted in current. Is painted in its current Louisville Nashville Railroad livery by Garland and Glenn Miley in 2001. Or the Florida Gulf Coast, 1633, ex-New York City, ex-PC, Amtrak, Elko, Road Switcher 3, RS3, Road Switcher 1 turbocharged model 244, 12-cylinder engine, 1600 horsepower. Alright, the American Locomotive Company is one of the finest of the team locomotive of the village of the United States. With the conclusion of the steam era, Alco entry for the road switcher concept of the groundbreaking RS1 design 1941, later offered the RS3 with the line of the diesel road, which is complete with the EMD with the other diesel locomotive manufactured products total 1,370 RS3 were constructed between 1950 and 1956. The 1633 was purchased by New York Central Railroad number 8277, a suburban commuter passenger service on the Hudson-Harlem Division, later part of the giant Penn Central Transportation Company. When the New York Central Railroad and Pennsylvania Railroad merged after Penn Central was bankrupt, the locomotive was sold by the Amtrak, even the switching shift to Washington, D.C., other locations. Other RS 8604 stored out of that has been heavily cannibalized with the parts to keep number 1633 operational 8604 with the ex-Amtrak with the ex-Pennsylvania Railroad freight only road, which are originally equipped with inductive radio antennas and dynamic brakes. 1987 the Amtrak with a desperate need for the working baggage car traded with the range of the museum, result of the baggage car going approximately in the exchange for both the RS3 with the 1633 with repainted with the current Seaboard Airline Railroad lever and Garland and Glen Miley in 2002. Short hood houses of the north work of the steam generator boiler relic with the number 1633 days in commuter service when the passenger car was heated with the steam. Alright, your Gardner number 61, the ex-Union Belt Railroad Electric Motor Division NW5 Road Switcher 1 non-turbocharged Model 567 and 12-cylinder engine, 1,000 horsepower. Extremely rare locomotive model built with the EMD between 1946 and 1947. The steam generator short hood marked specifically with a passenger train terminal switch complete with the American Locomotive Company. The RS1 made of the Pioneer Road Switcher depth of 1941 Northwestern. Fifth, constructed with the length of the yard switcher frame and equipped with the Bloomberg road trucks with a given the road locomotive size fuel. Where tanks only 13 NW5s were built. 2 NW5s were sold to the Union Belt Railroad of the Detroit number 1 and number 2, but worked on the 4th Street Union Depot. One of these engines renumbered number 67. One worked in the Mississippi Export Railroad Gardner Phosphate Company. Engine was donated by Cargill Corporation. Alright, the Betty 12, ex-Brooklyn Eastern District Terminal Road Steam Locomotive 0602T wheel arrangement number 12 with the tank-type oil-fired steam switching locomotive design for one-man operation waiver to the docks was donated to the museum in 1982. Passenger equipment, Seaboard Coach 821, with a heavyweight coach with the 1925 with American Car Foundry. The car featured the window of the 4-bathroom 74-seat with the Jim Crow section. The car operated late with the 1966 Seaboard Airline. Was later purchased for the Clinchfield Railroad excursion trip in 1979 when the car was donated with the Kentucky Railway Museum in 2009. Florida Railroad Museum traded with the Cape Tormentine sleeper of the South Seaboard Atlantic 821. Is currently pending restoration work before going into service of the museum excursion. The Delaware Lackawanna Western Railroad coaches 3518 and 3572. Built in 1930, the Delaware Lackawanna Western Railroad commuter service out of Open, New Jersey, was originally equipped with 70 cane seats. These cars were self-propelled with electrical motors powered with overhead catenary. Typically, several cars would operate with multiple units or MUs, making them the up of the train consist. These cars operated a half century, eventually have been replaced with the newer equipment of New Jersey Transit in 1982. Museum purchased for the cars at an auction in 1984, but the car was demodded. All traction elements have been removed. The feature open windows also provide with the air conditioner. Both of the cars are currently operating on the weekend special excursion. Your New Jersey coach. The built in 1950 Union Pacific 44-seat air-conditioned coach was ran on Alaska Road with the new Atlanta New Georgia Railroad. Purchased for the museum in the 1990s. Currently operating weekend excursion service. A generator concession stand. had been recently added to the car, reducing capacity to 40 seats. The Mopac Caboose, the 10207 12070, built in 1929 when the car was throughout the Missouri, Pacific, Texas, and Pacific System until the retirement in 1981, purchased by a member, donated to the museum, is now used as a party caboose on weekend excursions. Freight car, Florida Gulf Coast 127, the ex-Missouri Mopac caboose, donated by Jim Herron, North NW 518415, Norfolk Western Railroad, donated by the Norfolk Southern Corporation 1987. C&O Wood Cupola Style Caboose, ex Chesapeake Ohio Railroad Caboose, B&O C 2417 ex Baltimore Ohio Bay Window Wagon Top Caboose, donated by Mike Mastratus. Florida Gulf Coast Railroad 1020 ex Fruit Growers Express Mechanical Reefer 10207. This car is now equipped with a generator used as a FRM tool car in Willow. The ACL 50-foot, 50-ton boxcar, the Seaboard Atlantic 50-foot, 50-ton boxcar, Seaboard Coastline Ice Reefer with ice-free trucks and passenger air brake for serve over the head end of the passenger train. Pennsylvania Railroad Gondola U with the wreck train, served the Ohio, converted to covered open-air car. Florida Gulf Coast 85102, ex-Ringling Bugler Circus Cadillac cars converted with a covered open-air car. Side-loading handicap areas, Seaboard Atlantic boxcar, 40-ton wooden boxcar used Seaboard Coastline work train, served the dry rock hoppers, used the floors, frame, Bone Valley phosphate piping, mining, region transportation phosphate, rock ports of Tampa, now Harbor Island, Bocat Grande, donated by Mossack, repainting by Mulberry Repair Company. The TPIX 250. 1960 Tropicana refrigerated boxcar, many of 1,000 trips hauling with a fresh orange juice between the Tropicana Bradenton processing plant of the distribution century of the United States, New Jersey. Alright, our maintenance of way equipment, the Tamper and Tie-In Center, the purchase of the museum member in 2006, a non-operating condition, donated with the same year, built with the Winchester Western Railroad in 1986. Harsco Tie Tamper and production switch tamper produced and purchased in 2004 from a contractor in Omaha, New Hampshire, I believe. The tie crane brought by a member of West Florida Railroad in 2007 with a donation of the museum. Florida Gulf Coast tanker car, ex Seaboard Coastline Hallelujah wreck train tank car, tender capacity 2,500 gallons. Of diesel fuel, 7,500 gallons of water, used by museum firefighting during the months of the steam and the mobile water storage. Florida Gulf Coast Railroad 8601, 89-foot trailer on flat car. Flat car used primarily for the spreading ties along with the right of way, and then it goes. That was the completion of the Florida Railroad Museum car hose training. I'm going to post this on YouTube and send it to my associates.